Hi, you guys. Happy Tuesday. Good to see everybody. Let me say hi to people. Hold on a second. Hold on. I had to stop the other window from going. Okay, let me see. Hi, Christine. Hi, Lil Red. Hi, Pointer Lover, Neat Noodle, Nana Banana, Cement Shoes, Rachel Lee. Good to see you. Hey, Brandy. Hey, Mayla's mom. Hey, Kathy. Good to see you. How is everybody tonight? Hey, get me a snack, a million sparkles. Hello, preschool granny. Thank you for being a member for 6 months. Hello, get me a snack. Hello, chicken lady. Good to see you guys. I'm so glad everybody's here. Yay, yay, yay. Who did I miss? Let's see. Hey, Adrian. Good to see you. Whew. All right. Well, we've got a lot of ground to cover, and I'm sure Allie will be along shortly, but we're going to go ahead and get started without her. However, before we get started on Lori today, I wanted to share something with you. Cripes. Hold on. I wanted to share something with you guys that just came out. Hold on a minute. Let me find it. It's about Sebastian Rogers. The TBI came out and they have announced that, unfortunately, the picture that's been going around is not Sebastian. Hold on. I wanted to read it to you guys. So let me just, un momentito. Hold on. Okay, they released a statement and it goes like this. Dear media representatives, so not me, We would like to provide an important update regarding the recent photograph circulated in connection with the search for Sebastian Rogers. After coordinated efforts with law enforcement agencies in North Carolina, we have determined that the child depicted in the photograph is not Sebastian Rogers. We understand the gravity of the situation and the concerns it has raised. Our collaborative efforts with law enforcement agencies continue unabated as we remain committed to finding Sebastian. We appreciate your cooperation and support in disseminating this update to the public. So, yeah, it's kind of a bummer. Hello, sexy wild thing, McLovin freaking baby face claws. And I don't know if I said hi, but hi, chicken lady. Hi, Christine. I think I said hi to you, but I want to make sure. Hey, Low Red. I know I said hi to you. Hey, Teacup Kraken. Yeah, I don't, I wasn't 100% sold on it being Sebastian. I mean, hey, Adrian, it looked like him in some ways. I mean, it was a similar looking child, but it's a bummer. I feel bad for his parents because I'm sure, for them, their hearts were in their throats this whole time, waiting. Um, you know, um, I um well, Adrian, I want to know if someone came forward. If not, how do they know? If not, they need to get on KP. Um, I'm sure that they vetted it in whatever way they vet stuff like this. Apparently it was more than a photograph; it was also a video. Um, and what did I miss, Lil Red? I don't. Oh no, babe, you're fine, Allie. Whenever, just whatever. We're just chilling here for a sec. Um, I don't know how they vet those things. I don't know their process. But I do feel bad for the parents. I do because I'm sure they're worried. I'm sure that you know they wanted it to be um their son, and I hope and pray that he sounds safe and soon. But it's sad. Um, hey Natasha, good to see you, babe. Okay, so we're gonna because I didn't get to because I didn't go live last night. I just didn't have it like um oh yeah? Well, that's good. I mean, listen, I never thought any of the parents had anything to do with it. So I'm glad that if he's been cleared with through a polygraph from the FBI, although I have questions about that because I would think that the FBI would want to administer their own polygraph and that ask their own questions and have their own polygraph examiner read the results. But I mean, look, at the end of the day, a polygraph exam is nothing but a tool. They're not infallible. That's why they're not admissible in court. And so but I wouldn't have said anything one way or the other, whether he passed or he failed. I don't think the parents had anything to do with it. I don't even know if there's even been a crime. I don't know anything about it, other than what's, come out. Hey, babe, what's up?
Hey.
Oh,
Oh my God. I am so
tell me.
sorry.
Why?
Jen, because I cannot believe I did this, but I can't even lie about why I'm not here yet. Like, I
Well, you were
totally
in
forgot for a second. Like I got Emmy in the shower. Bentley was doing homework, and I was showering Emmy, and like I just got sidetracked, and I was like, "Holy shit!" And I thought about it at like 8:30. I knew it was coming, almost 9 o'clock, and then I just got like into the showers, and I started talking about. She was asking me about every different country, and then
well,
yeah, I am so sorry.
don't apologize because you were taking care of your kids, Allie, ever. Don't ever apologize. Listen, Melanie P is still going to be here. I may reading her for absolute filth will also still be here, okay? Don't you
Well, thank
worry.
goodness.
Don't
But
you
still,
worry
I'm
about that.
sorry. But, whew, okay. Well, I'm here now. Daggone it.
I'm glad you're here. Okay, so Adrian says Nancy Grace paid the FBI to do a poly on Seth and he passed the Oh, I see what you're saying. So two polygraphs, one from Nancy Grace and then one from the FBI. Okay. Well, I mean, listen, like I said, I don't think that any of the parents are guilty in this. I, I don't, or I shouldn't say guilty. What should I say? I don't think any of the parents are involved in Sebastian's disappearance. That's what I'll say. And I mean, so I'm glad that he did what he felt like he needed to do, and pass and get cleared through the FBI, and I hope that um, I hope that this case resolves in a positive outcome for Sebastian and his family, and I hope that the things that have happened online, um, the rift that's been created between these family members is not irreparable, and they can heal from this. I really do, because it's a sad situation all the way around. Okay, now we're going to talk about Melanie P. As y'all know, I have been anticipating her testimony for quite some time, and I wonder if I can do it here. I feel like there's a way, but I can't remember how to make. Hold on. I don't know how to make it bigger. Because let me make her full screen really quick. Maybe you guys can see if I make it like this. I don't know if y'all can see this too great. If you can't and you're on your phone or your tablet or whatever, if you pinch your screen and zoom, you can see Melanie P is wearing like the clear glasses. She looks exactly like Lori Vallow, although less blonde hair.
Where's she at?
What the
On the
fuck?
stand?
Yeah.
Oh,
Hold on a minute.
oh, wow.
Hold on a minute.
Okay. Dang, she looks different. Like her hair and stuff. I
Yeah.
can't hardly see her
She's
face.
not as well. I mean, this is the best like quality I can make it. Zoom is, oh, well, I'm not going to be able to fix it on that screen. Zoom is what it is. Let me see if here. Oh, here we go. Maybe that'll make it a little better. How did it make this move though? Hold on. All right, can you see her now? I mean, that's as good as it's going to get. Just give me a second, please. I need to take care of something.
Okay. Yeah, wow. I can't wait to see like pictures or like I'm sure East Idaho has footage of her maybe coming in or out.
I thought they would too, but I don't think so, babe.
Oh man.
Hang on a minute. Oh, okay. It's been taken care of. All right, cool. All right. So anywho, yeah, she's looking a lot like Lori. Okay. So I've been waiting for Melanie Pawlowski to get on the stand for a very, very long time. We all know this. I've talked about it endlessly. I've annoyed myself talking about it endlessly, and she's finally on the stand. Now, I'm going to tell you guys right now, straight up front, I think Melanie P got off very easily. And I was talking to Allie after the live over on her channel, which, by the way, if you missed it, it is a fantastic live, if I do say so myself. And Allie and I were talking about Letitia's, that's not what I wanted. Allie and I we're talking about Letitia's newest court case. She's suing Kansas City Department of Corrections, Topeka Women's Correction Facility. And we were talking about that. So if you want to find out how that went, head on over to Allie's channel to hear about that. But when we were done, I was talking to Allie, and there is such a difference in the testimony between Melanie Gibb, David Warwick, Melanie Pawlowski versus Zulema Pastenes. Okay. And it annoyed me to no end. But I will tell you right now, Zulema, in a weird way, made me understand some things that I didn't understand before. It made me see things in a different way. And I realized that a lot of the reason, and I had forgotten about this, they're all represented by attorneys. Melanie has an attorney. David Warwick has an attorney. Melanie P has an attorney. Ian has an attorney. Zulema has an attorney. And I've forgotten about this when they're testifying. So when they testify, and Melanie, both Melanies, have all of those gaps in their memories, and they say they don't know, all the time, and we get frustrated with them. I think this is what I think. I think that under the advice of their attorney, they were told, rather than lie or say an answer that they weren't sure of, it's better to say, I don't know, than to commit to an answer and then get caught up later. So I think that is why there are so many I don't knows, I can't remember, I don't recall, because you can't make somebody recall. If they say they don't recall and you ask them later on in the questioning in a different way, but it's a similar question, and they again ask you or answer you and say they can't recall, they don't remember, there's no way to prove that they can remember or that they can recall. So it is what it is. And I think that's what they're doing. It's annoying to me because I think that particularly today, after hearing Zulema testify, and I don't know why, because I don't think she testified like this last time with Lori's. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to start with Melanie, and we're going to hear all about we're going to speed Melanie up, and we're not going to listen to all of it. Okay. We're just going to skip around a little bit. We'll listen to a little bit of the direct, and then we will listen to some cross-examination, and then we'll go on to Ian because he has the tapes. So we'll be listening to those. All right, here we go.
All right, the witness has been sworn. Before we begin with direct examination, I am going to inquire from the witness, because this trial has been both live streamed and open to public access. Ms. Pawlowski, have you reviewed or watched any of the trial testimony since this case started?
No, sir.
Have you talked to anybody about the testimony they've given at trial?
No, sir.
Okay, that'll conclude my inquiry then. You may inquire Ms. Blake on direct.
Thank you, Your Honor. Would you please state your name and spell your last name for the record?
Yes. Melanie Pawlowski, MELANI PAWLOWSKI.
Ms. Pawlowski, do you know an individual named Lori Vallow?
Yes.
How do you know her?
She's my aunt.
Do you know an individual named Alex Cox?
Yes.
And how do you know him?
He was my uncle.
And do you know an individual named Chad Daybell?
Yes.
How do you know him?
He married my aunt Lori.
Do you recall approximately when he married your aunt?
I believe they were married sometime in November of 2019.
And had you met him prior to Lori and he getting married?
Yes.
In relation to your relationship with Alex Cox, were you close with him?
Yes.
And how about with Lori? Were you close with her?
Yes.
At some point, did you look to Lori as a mother figure?
Yes.
And when you met, do you recall approximately when you met Chad?
I believe in November of 2018.
Did you continue to interact with Chad from that point on?
Through Lori.
So when you say through Lori, would you communicate with Chad through Lori?
She would say, Chad said to tell you this, or it would be mostly through Lori for the most part.
Would you also send messages to Chad through Lori?
Yes.
Did that include you asking Chad for guidance or advice?
Yes.
Would you say at some point you developed a close relationship with Chad?
Yes.
At some point, did you eventually begin referring to him as dad?
Yes.
And we're going to stop right there. Okay. First of all, how do you have a close relationship with somebody but you don't speak to them? That'd be like me saying, you know, Allie and I are very, very close. Do you speak to Allie? No. Anything and everything that I have to say to Allie, I pass through Little Red. And then Little Red passes it to Cement Shoes, who then passes it to Neat Noodle, who then relays it to Allie. And then when Allie has her response, she goes to Humanimal, then Little Red, then Cement Shoes, then Neat Noodle, then Natasha, then Carol freaking Claus, and then finally I get it. Like, what the fuck? How are you going to tell people you're close? That makes no sense. Close enough to be calling this fool dad?
Yeah.
Already.
Don't forget about that.
We have 52 minutes of testimony. We are 2 minutes and 42 seconds in it, and I've already have an issue. Oh, God. I'm going to try hard, you guys. I promise.
At some point, did Lori and Chad begin sharing teachings with you or their purported beliefs?
Yes.
Do you recall them sharing some teachings regarding light and dark?
Yes.
Do you recall which one of them, or if it was both of them that shared those things with you?
Both.
And when you say both, at times, were they both together when they shared those with you?
Both together and separate.
So at times just Lori would share them,
Yes.
and at times just Chad would share them. Is that fair?
I don't know if I remember a time where it was just Chad. I do remember them being together and then with just Lori.
And with what Lori was teaching you, do you know where those ideas were originating from?
I believe they came from Chad.
Do you recall what they taught you or told you in relation to light and dark?
From what I remember, Chad was said to have a gift to spiritually discern, and he could see light and dark, or if a person had good intentions, but that he could see.
Hold on. I'm sorry. Kathy, be careful. I mean, I know that's such a ludicrous thing for me to say. Like, you're going to really, if I hadn't said, Kathy, be careful, stay safe, you would not be careful or stay safe. Like, I'm saving you, but please stay safe. Let us know. I heard we were going to be, I heard it's coming, and I heard that there's some crazy shit that's coming, this way to Florida in a couple of weeks. So I got my fingers crossed. I'm praying for you guys. Everything's going to be okay. I hate that you have to hear this.
Like I'm saving you. Sorry.
I try to have levity in situations like these because I really don't know how to act.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Some social cue issues. I don't know what that's called.
Well, I'm so sorry, Kathy, Mayla's mom, anybody else who might be in the way of this. And like Bendy said, just stay safe. Also, I know that I'm not saving you, but we worry about you guys. And yeah, I care about you guys and want you to be okay. So
tornadoes are scary, very scary. I've only been through one in my whole life, and it was scary. And by the way, thank you, Carol freaking Claus, for gifting 5 memberships, and also thank you, Christine, for gifting 1 Word Case Studies membership. I'll do the little thing in a little while. in a little bit, but if I don't get going, we're never gonna get to this. Okay. Now I do want to draw some attention to the dynamics between them. Now, what I find interesting is that, and you'll see this throughout Melani's testimony and a little bit with Zulema. Chad is never alone with any of the women other than Lori. He's never unchaperoned with the women, which that is a Mormon LDS thing. They don't, that's just how they roll. But the other thing is, it's not just a Mormon LDS, it's also a fundamentalist principle that, particularly when it comes to like courting a second wife, the husband is always chaperoned. If you watch Sister Wives, Cody was not alone with Robin. He always brought one of his kids with him, which I always thought was so weird, but whatever. I mean, I just don't think I'm not cut out, and I'm not good. I can share a lot of things, but not a husband. Just can't do it. I can share my clothes. I'll share my makeup. I'll share my shoes, but I ain't sharing my man. Sorry, just not happening. I just don't think it's a good idea. And I noticed too, just on a side tangent that has nothing to do with anything, when Robin got brought into the picture, I noticed Robin has cold sores. And there's one specific episode where all three of the women are passing that cold sore around, and it just gave me the grossest. Gross. It's
Oh
gross.
God.
Yeah.
That is just disgusting. Ugh.
Yeah.
Passing it
Mayla's
around.
mom, get in the
I know
shower.
it happens. I know it happens, but you don't
Right.
have to pass it around. And also, oh yeah, I never mind. Just
Yeah, it's gross. This is Mayla. What you do is you go in the bathroom. You'll be okay. I promise. Okay. Okay. Let's keep playing.
He threw and had that gift.
And did you ever learn about him having some kind of a tool or something that he would use to help him discern light and dark?
Yes.
What did you learn about that?
That he had a pendant or like necklace, something to that effect, that he could like a pendulum kind of thing, or he could get an answer to something he wanted to know.
And it looks like, and just for the record, it looks like you were making a swinging motion with your hand. Is that correct?
That's what I've seen from other people that will use like a tool or something like that, I think you swing it, and if it swings one way, it means yes or no. I'm not sure exactly.
And was it your understanding that Chad always had to use that tool to discern light and dark?
From what I remember being told is that he didn't always need that. It was just something extra he could use.
At some point, did Chad and Lori teach you about castings?
Yes.
What do you recall them teaching you regarding castings?
From the basis of where it comes in the scriptures, where you raise actually, I don't even know if that specifically is in the scriptures, but where you raise your right hand and can cast out a dark spirit or a demon. But they would explain how to do that, and the correct way to do that, or sharing different ideas on how what that could mean.
And did they teach you who castings would be done on or for?
Yes.
And who were those individuals?
That you could do, you could cast out at any time for anybody if you feel like you're being inflicted with some type of dark spirit or a bad feeling, that anybody at any time could raise their right hand to the square and cast out.
Did you participate in any castings?
Yes.
Do you recall who those castings were done on or for?
I remember one where Lori invited us over to do a casting on Charles.
And
or for
had,
Charles.
oh, sorry.
Sorry.
And you said it was done on Charles?
Yes.
Had you been told anything in relation to Charles being dark at that point?
I think at that time they believed, and Lori and Chad believed, Charles was affected by some type of dark spirit.
When you participate in a casting, is the person there? So was Charles physically present when you participated in the casting?
No.
And as part of the casting, was anything physically being done to Charles?
I'm not
By
gonna
any of you?
understand. Oh, no.
So he's not there. No one's laying hands on him during a casting.
No.
At some point, Did you learn whether or not JJ had been labeled as dark?
Yes.
And what did you learn in relation to that?
An objection based on foundation
And Your Honor, I'm just asking broadly if at some point she learned that.
and sober.
At some point, did you learn that JJ had been deemed dark?
Yes.
Do you recall what you learned in relation to that?
I don't remember super clearly on that, but just that at some point JJ was affected by some type of darkness.
Did you ever learn anything in relation to Tyler
Oh, let's hear
being labeled as
Tylee.
dark?
Yes.
And what did you learn in relation to that?
That I believe Chad labeled her as dark.
And do you know who it was that labeled JJ as dark?
I assume that it was Chad.
And is that because Chad had the ability or
Judge, I'm going to object at this point. It's bleeding.
Sustain.
previously had you learned about Chad having the ability to discern light and dark?
Yes.
It's about all I can really stand. I need to take a break. Allie, you got anything you want to add, babe?
No, not really, but just frustration. Same with you. Yes, we know that Chad probably is the one who decided that JJ was dark, but everybody else went along with it against their better judgment. So
Right.
screw them all.
This is like kindergarten shit. This is stuff we tell our kids when they're young, right? If your kid gets in trouble with a group of kids, right, and your kid says to you, well, so and so told me to do it, right? What do you tell your kids? Well, so and so told you to jump off a bridge, would you do it?
Yeah, exactly.
You knew it was wrong, and just because they told you to do it, you did it. You made a decision. You made the wrong one, and now you got to live with the consequences of your behavior.
Yeah.
Just like I'm living with the consequences of my choice. I decided to eat extra snacks. Now my shorts are tight. I have to put my big butt on the treadmill. Those are the consequences of your actions. It's cause and effect. It's very simple. I don't
Is that what you've been
understand
doing,
these people.
treadmilling it?
Yes. On the whole time on an incline too. That's what really hurts. That's really what burns the fat but tones too.
Yeah.
No sense in
Oh,
being
yeah.
jiggly.
The incline's good for the booty.
Mm-hmm. And since I got a little bit of ghetto thickness, it's it is what it is. Blessed with that salsa. All right. So I don't really remember anything super important that she says, honestly. I thought she got off really easy. I'm going to wait for Pryor to get up here with her. Hold on.
Yeah, she got off way easy.
'Cause I don't
an hour in full. Come on, or an hour-ish. Whatever.
Yeah,
it is.
and because I don't even remember them even asking about Brandon.
Right.
Mainly, they ask about
So Melanie Gibb, she's like a whole day of testimony, but Melanie
Right.
Pawlowski, she's an hour with both, with the cross included. No,
Yes.
I'm sorry, but that's disgusting, especially since her kids were half dark. Oh, Annie Lyddix, now it's A Murderous Heart. She posted a phone call today. I guess it came out in court, but I didn't see that come out in court. I don't know, but it was where Melanie, like the description, she's talking in the description about how 2 of Melanie's kids were deemed dark, and in this call she points out like she's worried about the other 2 who were still light, but not the 2, and this was already after Tammy had been exhumed and the kids had passed away, so she would obviously know what happens when you're dark.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's interesting if you want look at that later.
I will go look at that. This is what irritates me about Melanie. The P. So they 52 minutes start to finish questioning Melanie, right? Who was in Idaho when JJ was killed. And Tylee, she moved out there. They were all, they all lived next to one another.
Yep.
And
she moved. Yeah.
Yeah.
And remember the story about all of her shit she threw away on her like when she moved, all of her kids' stuff, that some of it was, brand new stuff she just put out there on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but she knew exactly what she was into. And thank God her kids survived. Because, yeah, you're right, Lil Red. They were in danger.
They were in danger. And let me say this. I'll wait till we get into it because I was irritated with this. Hold on. I think though we're going to have to.
Oh, thank God, Kathy. Kathy says, okay, we're good. It's moving
Okay,
out. We are
good.
good.
Okay,
Looks
good.
like it's going northwest. Hope it misses you, Mayla's mom and Natasha. Intense for a little bit.
Okay, good. Okay. All right. All right.
I know a person by the name of Melanie Gibb.
Oh, here we go.
Sometime in 2018, I think was when I was introduced to Melanie Gibb.
Do you remember when in 2018?
I think towards the end of November sometime.
Did you participate go to a seminar in 2018 with Melanie Gibb and Lori?
There was one Prepare People event that I attended, and I believe, I don't remember if she was there, but Chad was speaking at it.
Okay. And prior to that time, are you aware whether Lori had been introduced to Chad prior to November of 2018?
I believe she had already met him by November 2018.
Oh, okay. And you had already met Melanie Gibb at that time as well?
I believe so.
And you traveled to this Prepare.
Hey, I got to take care of Nestor, so I'm going to let it play for a little while. Give me like 5 minutes, okay?
Okay.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Bring the People
Okay.
conference.
It was in my city or just in Mesa, I believe.
And Preparing the People, explain to me what that is.
It was my first time attending. I didn't know much about it, but Chad was speaking amongst a few other people, and it was like a mostly LDS based ideas of the second coming or how to prepare for the end of times.
Okay. And thank you for bringing that up. These Preparing the People conferences, these gatherings are based on your LDS faith. Is that right?
Objection, Your Honor, misstates the testimony.
Sustain.
Based on ideas of LDS faith.
Some of the ideas there were LDS based.
Okay. And when you said the idea about the second coming,
Yes.
is that one of the ideas that's LDS based?
Yes.
Okay. So these Preparing the People conferences are not anything that's inconsistent with being a member of the LDS church. Is that right?
Not that I saw.
Okay. And you were there for the conference, right?
Yes, I went to that one conference.
Now, I came across some information on something called Seven Gatherers. Remember that?
It doesn't really ring a bell.
Okay. And you don't recall being involved with an organization called the Seven Gatherers with Melanie Gibb and Lori and Zulema Pastenes?
Objection, Your Honor, counsel's testifying.
Overruled.
Do you recall being involved in an organization called the Seven Gatherers with Melanie Gibb, Zulema Pastenes, Lori, and yourself?
I don't remember being a part of a group called the Seven Gatherers.
Okay. Now, you previously testified that, well, I'll ask it this way. The vast majority of the information that you received about Chad came only from Lori. Is that fair?
Yes, most everything came through Lori.
So you didn't confirm any of this with Lori. You basically took your aunt's word when she said Chad talked about these various topics. Would that be fair?
Yes.
Okay. And when Lori talked about moving from Arizona up to Idaho, you indicated that she wasn't particularly clear actually where she was going to move at that point. Would that be fair?
Yes.
In fact, there was a discussion with Lori at the time after Charles's death that she talked about living with Melanie Gibb. Do you recall that?
I didn't know she planned to live with Melanie Gibb.
She never told you that?
That doesn't sound familiar at all.
Okay. So if Lori were to make a representation that she would be
Objection, Your Honor, counsel's testifying
Sustain.
and move to strike.
Stricken.
So this idea of light and dark, you originally mentioned that the light and dark is, well, I guess I would like you to clarify. Are you saying that the mentioning of light and dark is something that's within the LDS faith in terms of the scriptures?
It does talk about light and dark in the scriptures.
Okay. So that was not a unusual or a new subject to you as part of being of the LDS faith. Is that right?
I didn't have a great grasp on it, but
Okay.
from what I understood it, the basis came from the scriptures.
Now, did you ever speak directly, and I mean face to face, to Chad about the children,
Are you referring to Tylee and
Eileen
JJ?
JJ?
I don't know if I did.
Okay. So, so any sort of information that you received about what Chad may have said, quite frankly, almost all of it came from Lori Vallow, did it not?
Most of it came from Lori Vallow.
Okay. You mentioned the name Julie Rowe. That name has come up previously. How do you know Julie Rowe?
I've never met Julie Rowe.
Do you know anything about what Julie Rowe does for an occupation?
Objection, Your Honor, relevance.
Overruled.
You
I
mentioned-
believe she had a set of podcasts where she would talk about spiritual beliefs.
Okay. Did you ever attend any of her gatherings?
No.
And as far as Melanie Gibb, did you ever participate in any of Melanie Gibb's podcasts?
No.
Okay. Now, this idea of casting, you mentioned the idea of casting. Was that casting also part of your LDS faith?
It talks about casting out in the scriptures. I wasn't very familiar with it, but it,
Okay. So when we're talking about casting's talked about in the scriptures, we're talking about the LDS scriptures, are we not?
yes.
Okay. And then I want to ask you a little bit about the term energy work. Are you familiar with that term?
Yes.
And what does that mean?
I think some people believe in doing different types of energy work.
And
I guess
what,
I don't
give me
know
an example
exactly
of a
what it
type of
means.
what type of energy? What would be an example of a type of energy work?
I'm not super familiar on it, but from people I've met that do energy work, they will either almost like a reading.
Okay.
They'll say if you have certain cords attached or certain connections to like your ancestors.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it kind of does. But the term of vibrations, have you heard that term before?
Yes.
And what is vibrations?
I believe in energy work that you could be on a higher or lower vibration, like a frequency.
And that frequency is used for what?
I'm sorry, I don't know. I'm not super familiar on
Okay.
frequencies.
Would it be fair to say that some of this energy work is to be able to communicate with other entities?
Yes,
Okay. It could be used to communicate with the dead, right?
yes,
Ancestors.
yes.
Okay. And did you ever participate in energy work with Lori and Melanie Gibb?
I didn't really know a whole lot about energy work. From what I remember, I think Melanie Gibb was more familiar with it. So I would listen to their ideas, but I don't know if
Right. And your recollection is Melanie Gibb was the one who was instructing you and Lori about the different aspects of vibrations and energy.
Objection, Your Honor. Counsel's testifying. These are facts, not evidence.
Sustained.
Move to strike.
The question is stricken.
Would Melanie Gibb teach you about this vibrations and energy work?
I don't remember talking a lot with Melanie Gibb about vibrations or energy work.
You do have a recollection, though, that Melanie Gibb was more versed in the understanding of
Objection,
energy.
Your Honor, misstates testimony.
Overruled.
You do have a more distinct recollection of Melanie Gibb teaching you about the different aspects of energy work, right?
I don't have a distinct memory of talking about all the different aspects.
Okay.
of
But
it.
she was well versed in
Right.
it. I'm sorry, Judge.
Cutting her off before she's done, please. You can complete your answer.
Hey.
Sorry, I don't think I was going with that.
All right, I'll re-ask it. I apologize for interrupting
Okay.
you. I've got it in here and I want to bring it out and it's coming out too fast, so I'll try to slow down. Melanie Gibb had a better understanding of this vibrations and energy work than you did.
I believe so. Yes.
And this was something that, were you aware of whether she went to remote camps and talked about this energy work?
Yes, she told me she went to camps and different things for that.
Okay. And when did she tell you that?
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
Okay, so a couple of things. This is where I think Pryor is going wrong, okay? A good attorney is going to ask the good questions, right? But in order to know what to ask the person next, you should also be listening to the answer. Because there's a couple of things that he could have asked her there and he doesn't go into it. I don't know why he's staying on this energy work with Melanie. I don't know if he's trying to get Melanie Gibb on perjury or what he's trying to do here. He has a bee in his bonnet for Melanie Gibb. I think that much is very clear. He is not a fan of old Melanie G. No me gusta. I don't like her either, so it's fine, but still. What do you think, Allie?
I mean, I don't know. I'm very curious of why Melanie got it so easy. It's interesting, but whatever.
It is very interesting to me. We're probably just going to stop here because that's really, I mean, there's nothing really good that comes out of it. But what I want you guys to do, I finally figured out today, and it's not because I'm smart. It's because something happened today with the 7 gatherings, finally. And now the mystery is solved. I didn't solve it because I was going in a whole different direction with it. And I don't know why Pryor asked the questions the way that he did, but because I feel like it's a technicality. And also I want to say welcome to, hold on, let me highlight the comment here because thank you, Jules. Jules says, I'm moving over to this channel where we cuss and call these people out. Absolutely, we cuss and call these people out. I mean, how can you not? These people are ridiculous. They knew all that they knew. Yeah. Listen, I've said it 11 billion times. In the very beginning, okay, when I listened to Zulema's testimony, I could understand today, not because this is what she said, but the way that she testified, the way that she answered questions regarding casting and castings being successful or not, right? It was confusing. And so if she is repeating what she has been taught, then I can only blame the teacher, right? The teacher must not have explained it in a way that she was able to retain the information and then repeat it back, right? So I could understand where they might not have all understood that when Chad was telling people the body dies, that if for a casting to be successful, when the demon is cast out, or the dark spirit, or the dark entity, the dark passenger, the dibuk, whatever you want to call it, right? That the physical body dies. Okay. I can understand why they might not have taken that as a literal death. Okay. But then Charles happened. Okay. And after that, anybody else who was deemed dark, all these chuckleheads should have known what was going to be a very likely outcome. It would be a reasonable inference to say, okay, this is probably not good news. This is probably bad news bears. Maybe I should tell somebody. You know, even if they didn't believe you, at least you tried.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I'm trying to figure out why they didn't. Is it because they didn't want to get in trouble?
I've thought about that, Allie, and I will say this. So, Chad, all this energy work and preparing of people for the end times and stuff, some of this stuff is outside of mainstream Mormon beliefs, okay? But there are certain things, there are certain aspects of the stuff that Chad specifically was teaching that, and they were clearly participating in, that might get them in trouble with their church. And that may have been a fear of theirs. If they went to get help or to report. I mean, look at what Heather Daybell did. Heather Daybell did say, listen, this guy is doing these things. He is teaching this stuff. And she, I mean, you know, she escalated the call as high as she could. And they didn't take her seriously and they didn't believe her. In fact, the thanks that she got was being called a pot stirrer. Well, I'd rather be called a pot stirrer than a fucking murderer. And that's just how I feel about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yes, okay, so I've been thinking about this, Little Red. And I honestly don't know. And the reason I don't know is because of the way that he asked the question. So for all of you guys who've been paying, who've been on this journey with me in these damn 7 gatherers, let me tell you what the 7 gatherers is. The 7 gatherers is a joint email address that was shared by Melanie P, Melanie G, Lori, Zulema, Nicole, Serena, and one other girl that I never can remember the 7th person's name. They all had access to this email account. They all had the login and password information. Okay. But not only was it an email address, like they shared documents, and I don't even know what the hell documents they would be sharing, but it was a place for them to share documents. It was also their login. It was also a Zoom account. So they could all log in on Zoom and have these meetings and these casting and chill sessions that they all had. That's what it was about. But for them, Melanie P might have committed the true sense of perjury because initially Pryor asked her if she had a recollection of the 7 gatherers. But then he went and asked her if it was an organization. So he asked her if he was familiar. And the right thing to do for Melanie, just to be on the safe side, would have just been to say it was an email address. It makes it look so much more nefarious when you don't lie, or when you lie, when you don't admit, hey, it was just an email address. Because they've all been like this, except for Zulema. So, I'm not sure how it's going to go. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? Hell, charge her and see if maybe she'll take a plea deal. I don't know. Okay. So I think that's about all from Melanie. Let me go over here and let's get Ian's testimony. And we're going to skip to the good stuff. Basically, let me tell you, if you don't remember, Ian was on for 2 hours and 15 minutes. See, and this is what Allie and I were talking about. Ian is on the stand for 2 hours and 15 minutes. I mean, total, that's his testimony. It was a lot longer than that because there were breaks and stuff, but the total amount of testimony was 2 hours and 15 minutes. Okay. Melanie P was, not only were her children deemed dark, but so was her ex-husband. Okay. And her ex-husband, Alex Cox, allegedly attempted to unalive, and yet 52 minutes. And nobody asked her at any time about her children. They didn't ask her that question. They never asked. Nobody did. Not on direct and not on cross. I mean, I can see why on cross he wouldn't want to be calling attention to that. But even on direct, she was never asked about how she might have anything about her children and them being rated dark. I don't know if, where's this question? I'm not sure, Bushi. I'm not sure. I've seen it asked a lot of times, and I watched her entire testimony today. And if she was granted immunity, I thought I would have heard about it. When did that happen, Bushi? Because I totally missed that. I rewound and watched her testimony from the very beginning today, and I must have just missed that because I don't even remember her saying that she was granted immunity. So, we're going to listen to it. So I'll take your word for it. Okay. So let me get over here to the part where they start playing the calls.
Oh God, I'm sorry. I've been talking to you and I'm like on mute. I saw in somebody's chat that it was that Pryor asked her that it
Told
was at
into
the
it they were
beginning of
at that
Pryor's.
time,
Is that
but
correct? Yes.
they were
Look,
essentially
Lil
trying to
Red
step
says
away because
Pryor
they
asked
Okay.
her first question.
Okay. Okay. All right. Hold on. Let me get to these calls.
That they were still watching Melanie.
Right.
Do you know who he was referring to?
Hold on. Trying to find this.
I'm next going to move to, actually, let me try to get it there. And it's hard to hear.
Here they are. Hold on.
Are you talking about the 911 call from?
No, I'm talking about the calls
Yes,
that
Your Honor. The jump drive being admitted into evidence.
I'm talking about the calls that Ian recorded. The ones between him
okay. I
and
thought we were-
Chat.
Oh, I
Yeah,
see him on the
remember
stand.
those?
Okay.
Yeah. Before we do that, let's have a little palate cleanser first between all this BS. Because I want to thank you guys for joining memberships and gifting memberships. So here you go. We're going to have a little quick palate cleanser.
Gossip, blah, blah.
No malicious intent or effort was towards it. No malicious.
We all do a little mad sometimes.
Okay, so see, now that makes sense that it was Pryor that asked, because I was watching Vanderpump Rules during the lunch hour, and it went to the next episode, and I didn't stop it, so I missed like 30 minutes of cross. So that makes sense. Okay, so now this is Ian. Okay, Ian is now married to Melanie Pawlowski, as we know, and Ian started to get quite troubled about some things he was hearing from Melanie P., his new wife. In fact, he started being concerned the night of their wedding, which I don't understand what the deal is with these people, with this group of people and their wedding nights. It's like, what are you doing? This fool is marrying a woman. He gets concerned on the wedding night about all the teachings, because that's when I guess Melanie unloaded on him and finally told him all the things, right? Then he's like, whoa, but it's too late because he's already said I do. And so this is how he spends his wedding night, apparently full of dread. I don't know. But at the end of the day, what he decided to do was he went to law enforcement. Ian did tell. Okay. But again, I don't know. I don't want to, I'm trying to understand. I really, really am. And that's it. Thank you, Lil Red. She did finally tell him everything, and he became scared for his children. I find this fascinating in such a repulsive way. Like, nobody gives a rat's fat kneecap until they think it's going to affect them and this group of people.
And his wife blocked. Remember, his wife quit letting his kids go with him and stuff when she found out what was going on.
Yes, that's crazy. Like, yeah. So here we go. So then he goes to law enforcement, and law enforcement says, okay, here's what you can do. You can start recording these Zoom. I think they're Zooms is what they're on, but you can start recording, but you can only record conversations where you are present. You have to be present and part of the conversation. You can't be like bugging your place. Okay. That's not going to work. None of that stuff's going to be admitted. So this is where he starts being part of conversations and bugging or, recording the convos. Here we go. So here's some of this.
Evidence will have 87 minutes. It's the state's intent and request to publish portions of that, and I will put the time marks on the record as we publish those.
All right, that works. Thank you, Ms. Blake.
Ooh, we could
266A
request that full
is
thing, I
admitted in its
bet.
entirety.
That is a fantastic idea.
Love you.
I love you too. Oh God.
Hey,
We're go-
Beaver.
Hey Bieber. Let me see what Bieber says. Jen Lou, I was scrolling and I happened to see the lawyer who you may know title about immunity, and I came straight over here. Girl, I'm gonna rewind, catch up 2 times what exactly happened. No notification here. Listen, next time, leave it to Bieber. You get as a creator or as a subs, because sometimes they'll do it either way. Hey, Dave G, YouTube asks you for the survey. Take it. I've been doing it too, and I've been saying I'm not getting notified. I'm not getting notified. I'm not playing with you no more, YouTube. I'm gonna play your game. You want to give me a survey? I'm gonna answer you.
Don't ask questions if you don't want the answer.
Especially from me, as I will tell it. All right, here we go. Let's hear these damn ass calls.
Okay. We love you, Claus.
We love you too, Claus. All right, here we go.
And Your Honor, for the record, I'm moving to the mark 6:36, so 6 minutes and 36 seconds.
Oh, I was worried she was going to be at 6:66. Seems more apropos.
You guys heard about Gabe yesterday?
No, what?
So she was talking to Dave said the reason he wasn't moving forward in their relationship is because he never got a confirmation on zombies. He doesn't believe she was really ordained. And if she was really ordained, 140,000 would be done with Peter James' better.
Right.
So he's not buying anything. And Gibb said, talk yourself into thinking that the only way to clear her conscience is to call the police and tell them that she knows, which is that she never had JJ, and when she asked for it, like you and I told her that she was better off not knowing.
I said that?
That's what she says.
She threw me under the bus for nothing?
Yes, we were walking in the park.
No, not just you. She was throwing everybody under
She
the
was
bus.
throwing everybody in the bus because she thought the cops would present the world and that was going to clear her conscience with God. Which made, she didn't even know what anything is.
Okay,
Give one
so,
on, Miss Raphael.
you what?
Hold on. Call us back. So I waited. Okay.
Lori?
Mama.
Melani Pawlowski, are you there?
I'm here. I miss you.
I miss you. No, no. Oh, perfect.
Did you hear your voice?
Your daddy.
We're alive. She'll be able to hear you when she stops sobbing.
Wow.
Oh, I miss you guys.
Oh, did you lose my baby? Where is he?
I'm here. I've been in the ER tonight.
And I'm stopping at 8 minutes, 50 seconds. Mr. Pawlowski, we hear several people on there.
Yes.
The first man on the call, did you recognize his voice now that you heard more of it?
Yes,
And who was that?
that was Alex.
And we hear another female join in initially. Could you tell who that was?
That was Zulema.
And it's hard to hear, but did you hear Alex talking about Dave?
Yes,
Do you know who he was referencing?
I believe he's referencing David Warwick.
And he was talking about Dave's not buying anything.
Right.
Do you know what that was in reference to?
I believe at that time they were, Melanie Gibb and David Warwick were both kind of, I don't know how, I never met them in person, never discussed anything with them in person. I never heard them on calls, so I don't know how pulled into it they were at that time. But they were essentially trying to step away because things were starting to get a little too hot.
And the indication was that Dave's not buying it.
Right.
And there was also talk of Melanie Gibb was going to go to the police.
Mhm.
Did you hear that?
Yes,
And she was going to tell the police she never had JJ. Did you also hear that part?
yes.
Did you know what that was in relation to?
No.
Okay. So I feel a little bit different about this piece of testimony than Lil Red does. Okay. First of all, what it sounds like to me is on David's part, that's not what Ian said. Ian said it was getting a little too hot. That's a interesting turn of phrase. And I do think that David Warwick was not as all in as what Melanie Gibb was. I will say that I agree with. But I think, again, this is confirmation, in my opinion, particularly related to the ordained part, that she was far more into it than she wants to admit. And that, to me, is extremely frustrating. I do think that I get the impression from Melanie Gibb and David Warwick, quite frankly, that, but let's start with David, that David was he was willing to listen, but he was not sold on the whole deal. But it feels to me like just from this conversation and what Ian is saying, that the only reason Melanie did anything about, went to the police or anything like that was, one, to protect herself, and two, because she couldn't seal the deal with David Warwick, and she very much wanted to seal the deal with David Warwick. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like Melanie was more like, I'm willing to, Melanie's like, well, oh, Dave won't move forward in our relationship. Okay, well, let me pull out a little bit. You know what I mean? That's how I feel. I feel like, I wish David Warwick would have gone to the cops himself, because I think he knew a lot more, a lot sooner. I think he saw the red flags. I wish that when, he knew that Melanie G lied, that he would have called law enforcement himself and said, this puta lied. I don't understand why. This is if David wasn't believing all of this, right? And he feels like Melanie G is lying and about being ordained and all of this stuff, why go ahead and marry her? That's what I can't figure out. Why would he marry somebody like that?
See, I've always thought that David didn't really buy into it the way Melanie did. And I think you're right. The main reason Melanie went to police was to save her ass. But I think part of it was that too, was because David was more apprehensive about them than she was, you know what I mean? And whether it was because he actually felt guilty or because police were closing in, I don't know.
Yeah. But that's what I can't figure out. Like, okay, if you're David, right, and your new girl brings you around her new friends, which is already intimidating, but then the new friends are doing this kind of bullshit, okay? I mean, they took him out to a field to show him this building that they said they could see that nobody else could see. Okay. And you're like, bruh, no, I am not believing you. This is poppycock, whatever, yada, yada, yada. Right. And then further down the road, a few months down the road, you find out that your girlfriend has lied to the police about her missing, about her friend's missing son. And then she finally comes clean, but not because it's the right thing to do, but because you're scared, because she was scared. Why marry her? That's what I cannot figure out. Why would you marry somebody like that?
I don't know, but think about it. People do dumb shit like that all the time. Marry people that they have red flags about or whatever. I don't know. It's a good question.
But he
Maybe.
married her.
I
Yeah,
honestly don't
this is why I can't. Yeah, I'm talking over you. I'm sorry, Allie. I'm sorry. I can't figure it out
know.
because
No, I'm done.
it's not like he talks about her like in a loving way. I mean, yeah, he said some nice things about her, right? But they don't even live together. So what's the point? That's what I can't figure out. It's really a nonsense. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. I just can't figure it out. And you know how I get stuck down these rabbit holes. Let me push play because I'm sore. And if I get down too much deeper in this rabbit hole, I'm never going to get back out. So here we go.
And then at some point, a female says, Raphael. Do you know who that was referencing?
Yes.
And who was that?
Chad.
And then sounds like 2 more individuals joined the call. Could you tell who the female was?
That was Lori.
And could you tell who the man was?
That was Chad.
Oh,
And there's
Clipper.
reference to mommy and daddy.
Right.
Hold the phone. Back the milk truck up. Look at this, Allie. Clicker
reading it,
says,
yeah.
Bindi and Alex, look at the property trip from this perspective that I can't even read. Was that a ruse to get JJ's body out of the house to wrap and dispose of it so Mel and Dave wouldn't know? Oh my. Very interesting, Clicker. I had not thought about it that way. Huh.
Was that in relation to Melanie as if she were their child?
Correct. Yes.
And you talk
Ick.
about Melanie sobbing.
Yes.
Were you present with Melanie?
I was.
Did she appear overcome with emotion?
Yeah. She was relieved to hear their voices.
Had she not heard from them in some time?
Throughout those first few weeks, they had a tendency to call in and then disappear for a few days or a week at a time.
And did you know where Chad and Lori were located when that call took place?
No.
Mr. Pawlowski, I'm sorry. Would you scoot up a little
Yes,
closer
of
to your
course.
mic while you
And I think if you put the mic just under your chin, I believe they're directional. Might pick you up a little better. I'm next going to move to, actually, let me try to get it there. I'm going to be starting at 9 minutes, 25 seconds.
Oh, I had that yesterday too. Yeah.
Well,
I
it
was
was,
out yesterday. It attacked us all so bad.
well, it was emotional for me yesterday. Like, I just missed my kids like nuts. I was bawling in the temple, but
Your Honor, I'm going to stop it at 9 minutes, 40 seconds. There was some talk on there about some attacks, and Melanie talks about an emotional attack in relation to her kids. Do you know what's being referenced there? Was someone actually being attacked?
There were no physical attacks. What they're referencing were spiritual attacks from Satan.
Did that link back to the blessing that you were given by Chad?
Yes.
Had you heard of spiritual attacks before, like they were talking about them?
Yes.
And had you heard about them from someone besides this group?
I only heard from, these types of attacks from Melanie.
Or going to be moving to 14 minutes, 15 seconds.
it's horrible. Is he one of the bad ones? Horrible. Is he one of the bad ones?
Yeah, him and Hope are the two bad ones.
I wondered if it was Lieutenant Ball. Lieutenant Ball kept bringing me food and water, and I was like, is he poisoning me? He's like, here's some fresh banana bread. I was like, I don't know about this banana bread.
He's probably good. The other ones are good.
Hope, you said?
Hope and your guy, your investigator guy. Those are the two bad ones.
Yeah, so he has all my stuff.
And stopping at 14 minutes, 44 seconds. In there, do you hear the reference that Hope and Hermosillo are the bad ones?
Yes,
Do you know where Hope and Hermosillo work?
yes,
Where do they work?
Rexburg Police Department.
Okay, so that's pretty much, I mean, this is all the stuff that happens with, just we'll go back and focus more on these calls, more in depth in later, but because it's getting late for Allie and I want to get to Zulema.
Okay. Yeah, ick, Dad Daybell. I agree, ick.
Yeah, the whole thing is disgusting. So, Melanie P didn't move to Rexburg till after JJ and Tylee were murdered. Allie?
I don't remember. I was just sitting here thinking about that. I think she might have came in the very first week of October so that would be after, but
Okay.
I don't remember. I don't know because it's all starting to run together.
Yeah.
Plus I know that she was spending time with them some before the kids, but
That is,
they're
yeah, and I know she went on I can't even talk. She went on trips with Lori.
Yeah.
What is All right, hold on a second. Let me see if I can find part 1 of this.
It wasn't until October she was in Idaho. Yes,
That's right.
That's what I thought, Clicker. But was it the first week of October? Like maybe by the 8th or something? For some reason, I'm thinking that, but I could be. I don't know. It's so much information.
It is a lot to keep up with all the days. It really is. All right. All right. So let me add this to the stream.
Clicker says, Bendy, I know this case like you know Gypsy.
Yes, you do. You do. It's a lot for me to keep up with. All right, here we go. I can't turn on the closed captions, you guys. They're not available for some reason. Okay, so we're talking about, in the chat, there, Clicker and Lil Red are talking about who all was there at the property scouting and who wasn't there. And Melanie G was there, and here's because I believe, and here's the reason why I think that, because I do recall Pryor grilling the shit out of her about that trip, about that day, who was where and when, and Melanie was trying to, like, I don't know, kind of her way out of it, and but was it Allie? Was it Lori that wasn't there? I'm going to have to go back and listen to that testimony. Yes, Melanie P was not, and I remember now. Okay. I know she wasn't there. But I'm trying to remember who all went to the trip. I can't even remember now if Alex was there. Let me just focus on this because this is too much. All right, here we go.
Daybell. We're continuing. When we
Hold on.
concluded yesterday, we were done with a witness, and I believe the state is prepared to call its next witness. Is that correct?
Close enough.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, and who is the witness and who will be examining the witness, Ms. Blake?
I will be examining the witness, Zulema Pastenes.
Very well. The state may call its next witness.
Or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth.
Thank you.
All right, the court will note now the witness has been sworn. Before we begin with any testimony, I am going to inquire, Ms. Pastenes, because this trial has been live streamed and available fairly easily to observe online and also open to the public, I'm asking you whether or not you have watched any of the trial or anyone's testimony given during the trial.
No, I have
Oh.
not.
Okay, have you talked to anybody else about testimony they've given in trial?
No, I have not.
Okay, thank you for your responses. Ms. Blake, if you'd like to inquire on direct, you may do so.
Okay, so I'm going to skip ahead to the part where right here, where they put up this light and dark scale.
Teachings of Chad and Lori.
All right, so it's not being offered demonstrative, just as an exhibit. So any objection on that?
No, Judge, if it's understood that she created this, I'm fine with that.
Very well. The exhibit 54A is admitted.
And Your Honor, permission to publish, please.
You may publish.
And Ms. Pastenes, I apologize, I cut you off there. I think you were starting to explain what we were seeing here. Can you please do so?
So Chad and Lori were teaching that in one realm of creations, there could be 5 different worlds to which one person could come to. So on this one, for example, it shows that there is one realm and one realm of creations on the left-hand side. And as you can see, it has 5 circles. So each one of those ones would be a world. And to the left, I have a arrow showing the spirit world. And one person could come to any of these worlds. And he had said that I had come to the 3rd world within this creation 5 times. To the 4th world, I had come 4 times. And to the 5th world, which will be the earth, which was also the lowest and the darkest of the worlds within this creation, that I had come to this earth 4 times.
And I also see a note there, Brother H.F. Jesus. Could you explain what that was?
Yeah, one time Chad had said that he was the brother of Heavenly Father and Jesus, and that in another creation, he had been the Holy Ghost.
And I also see a circle there with the word limbo. Could you explain what that represents?
Later on, they started teaching that a person could become, let me back up. When a person passes away, that there was a small time where the body is still a viable body, and it could be occupied by a dark spirit or a demon, and that because the body no longer had the spirit that was originally there, but it was being occupied by a demon, that then that spirit could not move to the spirit world, that it would go into a limbo.
So the original spirit occupying the body would go to limbo?
Correct.
And when you say they were teaching, who is the they?
Chad and Lori.
Okay, let's unpack that first little bit or that last little bit. I'm not going to go into the whole 3 worlds and all that business because that's that's for our purposes. We don't need to know all about that. But you see how she explains it. So she's saying that when someone dies, there's a small window of opportunity in where a dark spirit can get in and inhabit the body. And while that body is possessed, the host spirit, if you will, goes somewhere else called limbo. The Catholic, most people call that purgatory, but that's where this goes. So this is the part that's confusing because of how it starts out. When someone dies, there's a small window. So I can understand up until the point when Charles was actually murdered, where they are thinking that it has to be metaphorical death, that Chad is talking about a possession where the host where a demon takes over and possesses the vessel, right? But the other person is off somewhere else. Because how can you? That makes no sense in the context of Charles, right? So I understand why people were confused. I'm confused because none of this shit makes any sense. All right, here we go.
Had you ever heard anything taught like that before?
No.
At that time, were you open to the idea?
Somehow it was really different to me. I've never heard anything like that before. I was sort of open to it.
Had you heard of some of the concepts before of prior creations or multiple probations?
I mean, I've heard some things being said about reincarnation and things like that, but never in this manner.
Your Honor, I have what's been marked as State's Exhibit 54. Again, I have a courtesy copy for Your Honor, the exhibit, and a copy for counsel. And if I may have the witness handed a copy.
You may.
And Ms. Pastenes, can you please just look through those pages?
Have a brief sidebar with counsel, please.
Yes.
Let me skip this. We obviously don't need to wait through a sidebar. Let me skip this. We obviously don't need to wait. Oh, there's me. Okay, here we go.
Ms. Pastenes, have you had a chance to look those pages over?
Yes.
And do you recognize those?
Yes, I do.
Where did they come from?
These pages come from a journal I used to keep.
And do you remember approximately, well, let me back up. Do these contain information provided to you by Chad and Lori?
Yes.
So would you have started putting this in sometime after having met Chad and Lori?
Yes.
And do you know when you quit making these journal entries in particular?
this journal was probably finished around 2019.
Thank you. And Your Honor, I would move for admission of State's Exhibit 54.
Any objection?
Foundation Judge, 2019 is a long year. I should be afforded some opportunity as to when these entries were made.
Hold
All
on
right,
a
response,
minute.
Ms. Blake?
2019 is a long year as opposed to what? 2018, which was a short year? Every year has the same amount of months in it prior. What are you talking about? Oh my God. What he meant to say is a year is a long time period. That's what he meant to say, because 2019 wasn't any longer of a year than it than 2018 or 2020. Prior.
Your Honor, Ms. Pastenes has identified them as her journal entries. She's indicated they would have been made in the year 2019. I think that is sufficient foundation for purposes of identifying the document and substantiating it.
All right, the court's considered the objection and the response. I am going to overrule the objection and permit the admission of Exhibit 54 based on foundation laid by the witness.
And Your Honor, permission to publish.
You may publish.
And Ms. Pastenes, if I can draw your attention down there to the bottom, it says 3 phases. I think you were talking a little bit about that.
Yes.
Can you tell us what that represents?
So this is what Chad was teaching on that evening after the the preparing of people, November of 2018. He said that the translation phases were emotional, spiritual, and physical. Each one of them would go from 0 to 100%, and vibrations will go from 0 to 1,000%, I think it was. And he also shows that around 80%, there is a big test in order for you to get to the 100%, and then you move on to the next phase.
And in the time you knew Chad Daybell, would he in fact tell you vibration levels that you had?
Yes,
And did he tell you that you were going through the translation process?
yes.
And we'd previously seen another diagram where you talked about creations. Can you tell us what this is representative of?
So this right here is representative of one of those circles on that entire creation. So for example, this right here will be all of the times that a person comes to one of the worlds. So for example, this one would be Earth. And this is how a person moves up in a spiritual ascent and becomes either 1 or 2 or 3, 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, and so on the light side, or as I have on the left-hand side, the same happens for a person if they become dark.
And so when Chad was telling you this stuff, I think you said you were given a rating of 4.2 light.
I believe that's what it was. Mhm.
Who would give those ratings?
Chad would.
Who could discern light and dark?
Chad did.
And Your Honor, may I hold on to this exhibit? I intend to publish a few more, just not right now.
You may. Thank you.
Ms. Pastenes, do you recall where you went to lunch with Melani and Chad and Lori?
Firebird's restaurant in Gilbert, Arizona.
Sometime after that first lunch, did you go to a lunch there again?
Yes.
Who was present at that lunch?
Gib, Lori, and I.
Do you recall approximately when that would have been?
I believe it was around February of 2019.
At some point, did Lori end up leaving Arizona?
Yes,
Do you recall approximately when she left Arizona?
it was after that lunch. So probably February, March.
And Chad was not present during that lunch, is that correct?
Correct. He was not there.
During that lunch, did Lori start telling you anything?
Yes, she made a diagram similar to the one that that I had written down, and she went over the creations and the worlds, and also the ratings of people.
And Your Honor, I have what's been marked as State's Exhibit 54B. I have a copy for the court, counsel, and a courtesy copy for Your Honor.
Thank you.
And if I may have the witness shown the exhibit.
You may.
Ms. Pastenes, what did Lori draw the diagram on?
It was on the receipt of the lunch.
And when you look at these pages, do you recognize them?
Yeah, this is a copy of the back of the receipt because I remember I kept the receipt.
And Your Honor, I would move for admission of State's Exhibit 54B.
No objection.
All right, Exhibit 54B is admitted.
And if I may have that for publication.
Yes.
And so as you said, this is indicating the same type of information.
Yes.
Is this also about your prior lives?
No, I don't believe that this one is, excuse me. This one has to do again with the eternal rounds up on the top. The five worlds that one can come to. And on the bottom part is how Chad used to rate people on whether they were light or dark. So you become a 1. So we're reading from the bottom up. You become a 1 when you're in the spirit world. And then you become a 2 when you are born for the first time. And then you become a 3 when you come again, and so on and so forth. And then she put the numbers of people that would be a 2 or a 3, and so on and so forth upon the earth currently. So, for example, there's I think it says billions of 2s, billions of 3. Only 1,200 people are 4.1 light, 4.1 light. Excuse me. There's only 7,000 4.2. There is only 700 4.3, and then there would be only 1/6 light, or only one person that is 6 dark on the opposite side.
So equal number of light and dark on each level.
Yes.
And then this was also part of that same receipt.
Yes.
And can you tell us what this is depicting?
So she, Lori at this time started explaining that they were councils. And so at the top would be Heavenly Father, Jesus Christ. Then right after that, there will be a council of 12, a council of 24, a council of 48, and then so on and so forth.
And do you know where Lori was getting her information?
All of this was being given to her by Chad.
And when we talked about those different creations, did Chad ever talk to you about the term exalted?
Yes.
And what did Chad explain to you when it came to being exalted?
Okay, this is the part that I wanted you guys to hear, and then we're going to skip to the cross-examination, because when she gave this testimony today, for whatever reason, I don't know if all the stars were aligned and my chakras and all of that, but I understood how all of this came to be, and why Lori and Chad acted like they didn't have a care in the world. I don't support it. I don't approve of it, and it still makes it's nonsense, but obviously, it's their way of thinking.
So exaltation means that you have had a probationary time, and you have become a righteous person, spiritually minded, and that you are, through the atonement of Jesus Christ, you are exalted. That means that you have earned or have a place in a celestial realm.
And had you heard that type of teaching before?
Yes, I have. It is taught in the church that we can become exalted, but the way that Chad was teaching it was different. He was teaching that if you came in another world within that creation, within those 5 worlds, if you came in another world, let's say, for example, when I came in the 4th world 4 times, during that time, I had become exalted. Therefore, I had already have my place in a celestial realm. So when I came to this earth this time, I didn't need to go through a probationary time. My place was already there. I already had it. So it wasn't really a probationary time for me to be here, that I had, for example, come to just help and assist the work of God.
And if you weren't in a probationary period, did that mean anything else? Or did you ever hear Lori or Chad say anything in relation to that?
Yeah, it would mean, Chad said that there wouldn't be a need for repentance if you had already been exalted in another world, that you did not need to go through a probationary time because you had already proven yourself in another world. Therefore, it didn't count for you. So Lori used to say all the time, it doesn't count for me. Or she would say, for example, to me or to other people, she was saying, it doesn't count for you either. And she would do it in such a way where she would hit something and she would say, doesn't count for me.
And again, where was Lori getting her information?
All this information is coming from Chad.
Okay. So basically, again, Chad and his lack of originality. Chad, what she's talking about is actually similar to the actual meaning and principle of karma. Karma means that if somebody does you dirty in this lifetime, okay, and you have the opportunity to take revenge, to do to them what they did to you negatively, right? Then you will then have to do another lifetime, and this person will be part of that lifetime because you guys you haven't learned your lesson, right? It's only when you've learned all of the lessons that you're intended to learn and you petty things like revenge that you then get to the highest level, which would be nirvana. Okay, so it's sort of like that. So basically what Chad is running around telling these certain people, and it's not all the people, it's certain people, is that nothing you really do in this lifetime that could be negative, you don't have to repent for that because you've already been through all of the other probations. You've already done all of your repenting. And so you're good, which basically means you have carte blanche to do whatever you want, which is up to and including the worst thing that you can do, which is to take somebody else's life, because I could not figure out why Chad and Lori did some of the things that they did. And what I've come to realize after Zulema and her diagram and her explaining all of this is that Chad and Lori will never have remorse for what they did because they don't see it as wrong. Whatever they did in this lifetime, whatever they did is justified because it was for the greater good. It was part of their mission. And so therefore, it doesn't count. So I think, this is my personal opinion. I said this before, but now I really am like locked in on it. I think that Chad and Lori, that time that they requested a meeting, which typically you're not allowed to do. They don't really allow co-defendants to speak like that. They're not supposed to have any type of interaction. But what I think the purpose and intent of that meeting was for both of them to tell each other, listen, we got to do whatever we got to do, say whatever we got to say while we're on trial to try to get out of this mess. And even if and they were okay with that. Even if, and you see, Pryor isn't not in the same way that in Lori's trial. In Lori's trial, it was very similar. Her defense was very similar to this one. Well, did Lori tell you that? Or Chad? Right? They're not really going hard. Pryor's not really going hard at Lori. Not really. He could go a lot harder if he wanted to. I don't know. It hasn't been his turn yet. But I think that they have an agreement with each other, and I don't think they care. I also don't think that they care whether they get life in prison or the death penalty. They probably would prefer the death penalty because that would mean, in their mind, that they could get to the part of them being together for all eternity a whole lot quicker. What do they care about, what are they in their, 40s, 50s? They got another 30, 40 years, right? What is 30 or 40 years compared to an eternity? It is a drop in the bucket. They don't care. And I agree. I will say, Clicker, that yes, some of the things that Pryor is, some of the line of questioning, he is trying to interject reasonable doubt. That's his job. But what I'm saying is, for example, when he was questioning Melani P., okay, Melani P. hardly had any direct communication as far as teachings with Chad. Most people didn't. Most people had to go through Lori. So what Pryor's trying to say is, well, how could Chad be we don't know that Chad is the mastermind just because Lori said that Chad told her this. There's no proof of that. And in some of the witnesses, that is correct, except for Zulema, because Zulema was told things. They did have phone conversations. There was no middleman. It's not working at all. It's not working at all. Even if, like, I'm going to skip to when Pryor cross-examines her. Hold on. I think it's right. It's right at the end. Oh, no. It's right here. Somewhere in here. We'll start here. But anyway, even when Pryor cross-examined her. Oh, before I forget, one thing that I wanted to mention about Ian Pawlowski, what happened at the in court yesterday with him. So Ian is on the stand, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the judge calls a sidebar. He's in the middle of being cross-examined by Pryor. The judge calls a sidebar, And when they come back from the sidebar, he instructs the bailiff to escort someone out of the courtroom. Well, the person that he was directing to be escorted out of the courtroom was Ian Pawlowski's lawyer, who was nodding his head in agreement during Ian's testimony. And it was taken as essentially he was coaching from the sidelines. Okay. And the judge wasn't having any of that. Now, before I forget, this other thing happened today. There is a rumor, I cannot confirm it, but it is going around that Julie Rowe tried to get into the courtroom. Now, I've heard that several places. I don't know how true it is. I'm going to have to see. I have to check with maybe Nate after this is over, and maybe we can talk about it tomorrow or whatever. But I'm curious about that. Did you hear about that, you guys? About Julie Rowe trying to sneak in? Okay. So now we're going to skip to the point. Correct. I forgot that he was also Zulema's attorney. I forgot about that point. Thank you for reminding me, Clicker, because I forgot about that. Okay. Now we're going to get to the cross-examination, and I didn't scooch this. Yeah, I did. I put it where I wanted it. So yes, that was yesterday. Oh, was that yesterday that she tried to get in? It wasn't today? Huh. I thought that was yesterday. My days are all messed up. Okay, so it was yesterday? Okay, and Nate confirmed. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Okay, so now we're to the point where we're going to, I don't know why I thought it was today. I'm sorry, you guys. Oh, because I was supposed to do the this Ian and Melani P were supposed to be the live yesterday. Okay, now I know why I'm confused. That's neither here nor there. I'm also tired. Anyway, so here comes Pryor. Now, they have, it's his turn to cross-exam, and he wants to introduce a piece of evidence, okay? And the judge ends up dismissing the jury, and they have an in-camera hearing about this evidence that Pryor wants to get in. It is Zulema's interrogation video from 2021, okay? And he wants to play clips from that video. And the reason he says is because he wants to use it to impeach Zulema's testimony, okay? But the state argued that there wasn't enough foundational questions and foundation laid for him to need that piece of that tape or the interrogation video to impeach her. But so we're going to see how that plays out. Okay, let's just no more Jen talking because it's right here.
With counsel on the record discussing that it will permit the refreshing of the recollection of the witness to determine if there are any prior inconsistent statements that would implicate Rule 613. And so at this time, I'm going to allow you, Mr. Pryor, to publish those excerpts to the witness so she can listen to what was said in the interviews, and then we'll make a determination as to whether or not there are inconsistent statements that may bring into play Rule 613B and how those may be used if you believe impeachment's required. All right, Exhibit 83 then. And again, without the jury here, I'll allow you to publish the sections you think are relevant in terms of determining whether there's inconsistent statements. I'll have you turn your microphone on, please, Mr. Pryor.
Exhibit number 87 is an interview on 10/23 of 20 with Officer Kiakamano and Edwards of Ms. Pastenes as well. That's 87, and 88 would be a interview with Officer Hermosillo and Officer Kiakamano on 4/29/21 with Ms. Pastenes, and I'm going to have them marked as Exhibit 87 and 88 as well, Judge.
Are you intending to publish any part of those?
I will publish 3 excerpts on those respective exhibits, Judge. as
Okay.
well as-
When you do publish, just carefully identify which exhibit is the excerpt is from, so we know that.
Your Honor, may I also inquire to get the timestamp on each publication?
Yeah. The best we can identify what is published, we'll need to have a record of that. Since currently none of these exhibits are admitted.
24. (2412), Judge.
All right, you can publish to the witness.
And Judge, it's up on the HDMI if I could have them.
That was never explained. I don't know. He never said that. I don't think that was ever put in as an option or asked as an option. Actually, that's the first time I ever even thought about that could be an option. That my spirit could actually go back to the body.
So
A possibility.
So did you believe it to be that once your spirit is in limbo and the demon is in your body, in order for that demon to get out, they have to kill your body to get that demon out? Is that how you understood it?
No, because it was understood the way that Chad explained it was that we would expel that demon out of the body, put a protection around the body so no other entity could come in, but they never spoke about killing the body. Do you see that? They only talked about expelling or throwing out or casting out the bad spirit. They never talked about actually killing the body.
Okay, so if you expel that evil spirit and you put a protection around the body, and the good spirit can't come back, the body is basically going to die, right? The expelling of it causes basically the death of the body, whether that's intentional harm to the body or just body just had a car accident, dies, or falls over from natural causes and dies. Is that what you're saying?
Mhm.
Judge, that's at 2604.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And Judge, if I could have 87 and 88.
Yes, I'll have the bailiff deliver those.
Two rooms prepared for them, and then I had 2 rooms prepared for them to stay because my kids were out of town, and so it was just it was me in the house, so I had prepared the rooms for them to stay at, and for Lori. So Serena was going to stay in my room, and I had a room ready for Lori and another one for Gibbon, and I was going to take the couch, and then Lori and Gib decided that they didn't want to be in separate rooms; they wanted to sleep together.
Your Honor, I'm going to actually object to
Do you
this.
think there was a physical relationship?
This hasn't even been discussed. So if this is going to be used for impeachment, where we're going with this information has not even come up in any testimony.
Well, I'll note, Mr. Pryor, in order to come in for impeachment, there first has to be relevance, and the relevance is a foundation for potential impeachment. If it's something that could not be a prior inconsistent statement, then it's not relevant under 403, and therefore it doesn't come in. So if this is a topic not yet discussed by the witness on the stand, then I would agree. There's no reason to continue publishing.
And Judge, the way I understood the inquiry is that the court was going to allow me to publish these statements and then I can inquire of the witness. And this statement is not necessarily exclusive to just impeachment, Judge. This statement goes to bias and the relationship between Ms. Gibb and Ms. Vallow.
Yeah, this is a completely different topic. We're way out of the scope of what we're determining on this, and so I'm not going to permit 87 to be further published, sustaining the objection of the state. The narrow topic we're on right now, Mr. Pryor, is simply, are there inconsistent statements that have already been offered on the stand by the witness and whether or not they can be impeached?
So I assume then that the court in a later through Mrs. Pastenes' testimony I'll be able to bring up the subject if there's some issue relating to the relationship between Miss Gibb and Miss Vallow. Is that correct, Judge?
I'm not going to make a advisory ruling for you. What we've got right now is whether or not there's inconsistent statements that can be impeached, and that's the only ruling I'm going to make at this point.
Okay, Judge, could we have a sidebar, please?
We need to keep things moving here, Mr. Pryor. So no.
Damn.
Here, so let's get through this evidentiary matter and get them back in for further testimony as soon as possible.
The judge said, no, I don't want you at my sidebar. All right.
Maybe I wrote from somewhere else, or maybe she said that. I don't remember this part of the types of things I want. There's a law formula.
Hold on. Let's just.
So that we would all be able to like share documents and information with each other that with things that we were learning, so that we could communicate it with each other.
Okay.
So that's an email address.
Did you guys use this quite a bit?
For a little bit, yeah.
Did you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The 7gatherers@gmail, and then the 79144 is that the password to get into it? Is that why you wrote that up? Okay.
Yeah.
Do you still have access to that?
I don't know. I haven't looked at it for.
Okay.
Very good.
Okay, I'm just curious.
Oh my God. Are you going to let's get to the point. Here we go. All right, here we go. And this is going to be literally the most tedious line of questioning Pryor has done to date, which is really saying something.
Here's all present count for you.
All right, thank you. Please be seated. All right, the jurors have returned. We're back on the record on case CR 22-21-16-23. I will indicate to the jurors, thank you, through without an afternoon break, but I'll, if we're able to do that.
And is it your understanding?
Time.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Pastenes, we were on the subject earlier about castings. And is it your understanding that Chad and Lori never spoke of killing a body during a casting? Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. However, it's also your understanding that if a casting is successful and the spirit leaves, it's your understanding that the body dies. Is that what you understand?
Correct.
So what I'm confused about is that you spoke earlier about Charles, and you were involved in one of the first castings with him. Is that right?
Yes.
And who was present for that casting?
The first time that there was casting and done on Charles, it was Christina, Nicole, Serena, Gibb, Lori, and I.
So almost the entire 7 gatherers.
Yes.
And was this a 7 gatherer casting that was that you folks had organized?
I don't believe that the email address had been created yet
Okay.
at that time.
Okay. And again, in terms of the 7 gatherers, is it your testimony that Gmail originally, when that account was created, that you used that account regularly?
It was used for a little bit. I couldn't tell you how many times or for how many documents were shared in there. I know that it was used, but I can't exactly tell you how many numbers of documents were in there.
And not necessarily a number of documents is what I'm looking for, but rather a description of how often that was used. Would you say that it was used frequently?
Probably.
Okay, thank you. Now, let's go back to the issue with the casting of Charles Vallow. And you mentioned that at least 5 or 6 of the 7 gatherers were there engaging in that casting. Is that right?
Yes.
And one of those members of the 7 gatherers was Melanie Gibb, correct?
Yes.
And was Melanie Gibb running that casting?
No.
Lori Vallow?
Yes.
Okay. And at the time, you had indicated that that casting was successful. Is that right?
When Lori called Chad to ask if it had been successful, she returned with saying that it had been successful.
I just realized something about these 7 gatherers. So, in the very strictest sense of the word, the 7 gatherers was an email account, okay? But it was more than an email account. And I think that's what Pryor's trying to get at, but he's not getting there. So yes, they used it to share documents with one another, but all of the people that had access to that 7 gatherers were also the people performing the castings. So it was a group. And they were organized. That's what they used. That's what they referred to themselves as. I think that's what he's trying to imply here.
And do you remember when that first casting was?
It was towards the end of March of 2019.
And at the successful completion of that casting, did you get notice that Charles Vallow died as a result of that successful casting?
So I think that the things that Chad and Lori were teaching was that the person that was
Yes, Clicker. Exactly. It was 7 women who performed castings under Lori's direction, who was directed by Chud. That is absolute. You're correct. What Pryor is trying to say is, well, how do we know that they were directed by Chad? Everything that had anything to do with the castings or what was the big deal. The castings were, an attempt to remove this evil entity, and in a successful casting, the women or the body dies naturally. So it's not a good argument. It's a lame argument. It makes no sense. But yes, she did. Idaho Charlie, she did say she wasn't part of the 7. Melanie G also said that she wasn't part of the 7. And the only thing that I can think of as to why Pryor was letting it go during the state's case is because he intends to do something with it on the defense. When he presents his case, because otherwise it's just like left in the air. It's weird. Okay, hold on. I'm trying to get to.
And then just to the side of that is start dating him at that point. Is that correct?
no.
Hold on.
I have to go to work. LOL. Vision in the celestial room. What Officer Hermosillo
Here it is.
saying?
To
Overruled.
Was it you?
Yes, Clicker. Zulema's testimony is that Lori would then confirm with Chud if a casting was successful or not. But that's exactly right. Listen, they were all in on this. All of them all together. All of it. But
All right,
I
I
see
think the
what
jurors are lined up. So
Pryor
we'll
is
go ahead and have
trying
them
to
brought
do.
back in.
Yes, sir. Bill, when brings-
This was tedious, but also the most interesting at the same time. It was weird. Oh, for fuck's sake. I'm watching this and waiting like I don't have the ability to skip.
And to clarify there, Madam Reporter, that would be the question posed before we talked about, breaking the sidebar. Yeah, the same one I read back just momentarily ago.
For a time that there was a discussion about that's one credit. That's I did not follow up.
You've had an opportunity now to review an interview between you and Officer Hermosillo, is that right?
Yes.
And your previous testimony was that in terms of someone trying to make your testimony more credible, do you have a better recollection of that situation?
Yes.
And at that time, in your discussions with Officer Hermosillo, was there a discussion about attempting to make your testimony more credible?
Yes.
And was there a discussion about you making inconsistent statements to other police agencies and that Officer Hermosillo was trying to reconcile those two inconsistencies?
Yes, he was trying to reconcile.
And at that point, was it also your discussion with Officer Hermosillo that he was trying to make it so that they could minimize how a defense attorney may attack you in terms of those inconsistent statements?
Yes.
And was it your understanding that Officer Hermosillo was trying to put you in a position where you would testify in order that you wouldn't be as vulnerable to attack by the defense counsel?
Objection, Your Honor, calls for speculation.
Overruled.
Was it your understanding that Officer Hermosillo was aiding you in trying to make it so that defense counsel could not attack you about your inconsistent statements to various police agencies?
Yes.
And Officer Hermosillo again is who?
He's one of the law enforcement that interviewed me.
From the Rexburg Police Department?
Yes.
In addition, Officer Kia Kamano was there as well, is that right?
Yes.
And your attorney was there as well, right?
Yes.
Was it your understanding as part of that meeting that what you were attempting to do was to get your story straight when you had to testify in a trial of this case?
Objection, Your Honor, argumentative misstates the evidence or
Overruled.
testimony.
It's overruled.
Is it your understanding that what Officer Kia Kamano of the Rexburg Police Department, Officer Hermosillo of the Rexburg Police Department, and your lawyer and you were trying to get your story straight about all the inconsistent statements you made to various police
Objection, Your
agencies?
Honor, argumentative.
Sustained.
Move to strike.
That's sustained. I strike the question.
Officer Hermosillo was trying to make your testimony more credible, is that right?
Objection, Your Honor, asked and answered.
Sustained.
You had previously heard about inconsistent statements you may have made to various agencies, is that right?
Yes.
And Officer Hermosillo talked about minimizing the impact of defense counsel in your questioning, correct?
Objection, Your Honor, asked and answered.
Sustained.
And the purpose of that meeting was just so that you would be able to get your story straight, was it not, ma'am?
Objection, Your Honor, asked and answered. Argumentative.
Sustained.
What do you understand the purpose of Officer Hermosillo telling you that he was trying to make you credible in front of a jury?
Objection, Your Honor, asked and answered.
That was not asked, Judge.
It's overruled. You can answer the question, ma'am.
Madam Clerk, would you read back that question for me, please?
What do you understand the purpose of Officer Hermosillo telling you that he was trying to be credible?
My understanding was that there was some inconsistencies and he wanted to clarify them to, just like he said, to be ahead of what you're doing right now.
And the discussion was directly to you that we were trying to get ahead of the defense counsel so that we were prepared for the potential attack on all of the inconsistent statements that you have made. Is that right?
Objection, Your Honor. This is argumentative.
Sustained.
Move to strike.
Strike that question.
So getting ahead of the curve, what do you mean by getting ahead of the curve?
I didn't say ahead of the curve. Did I say ahead of the curve?
What do you recall Officer Hermosillo saying, getting ahead of what?
Objection, Your Honor. These have been asked and answered.
Overruled.
If you don't remember, Judge, we can refresh your recollection once again.
I'd prefer you just continue on with cross, Mr. Pryor.
Do you believe it was the intent of your discussion with Officer Hermosillo on that day of 4/29 of 21 to prepare you to testify today?
Yes.
And you believe that as part of that preparation, he was discussing with you how we can, you folks, you, your lawyer, Officer Kiyakamano and Officer Hermosillo, can frame your testimony in a way that resolves some of the.
Objection, Your Honor. This is argumentative and it's misstating the testimony. And it's been asked and answered.
It's sustained.
Judge, I want the witness to go back and have to review the.
Well, there hasn't been any response, Mr. Pryor, that she doesn't recall. It's just been some sustained objections in the way you're framing the questions. So just ask additional questions and then we'll see if she needs to be refreshed or not.
Do you specifically recall what Officer Hermosillo referenced when he said he was trying to get you ahead of something?
Yes.
What did he say?
He said that he was trying to get ahead of what you're doing right now.
So in other words, he was aiding you in resolving different statements you may have made in the past.
Objection, Your Honor. Argumentative and mischaracterizes the testimony.
Sustained.
Move to strike as well.
It is stricken and I'll reiterate, and I may not have done this before, when I indicate things are stricken, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, that means you are to disregard that and not consider it in any way in your deliberations. And I've said that on multiple occasions here, but that's just a clarifying instruction from the court at this time. Mr. Pryor, you can continue.
And what did you understand when Officer Hermosillo was trying to get us ahead of something? What exactly was he trying to get ahead of for your benefit?
Objection, Your Honor. This has been asked and answered multiple times.
Sustained.
Okay, so this is going to continue to go on for a while. Here's the deal. She's now admitted, okay, that she met with the detectives, her and her attorney, in an effort to close up, fix up some of the inconsistent statements in her, that she had given to different law enforcement officers. Let me say this. I find that if that's what happened, it's not a good look. But also let me point this out. Even if the jury, when they're back there deliberating, throws Zulema's testimony completely out the window, they don't consider it at all. They give her testimony zero weight. It still doesn't get to reasonable doubt for Chad. He still has not explained how those children's bodies were found on his property in an area, Tylee specifically, in an area that he was referring to the day before in a text to Tammy about a raccoon. So even if the jury were to throw out her entire testimony, it doesn't help. It doesn't help Chad at all. It doesn't. I can see where it might become a problem because of the detectives that were involved and they testified. Maybe it might make the jury feel, but I don't think so, because even with all of that, it still doesn't explain how two bodies got on his property. So yeah, I mean, this was just really tedious. And now I need to know what, is going to happen for when he starts putting on his case. I really do, because I can't figure it out. Hey, MJ, good to see you, babe.
I can't wait to see him put his case on and who he's going to call that wasn't called.
Exactly. Or he's kept some of the casting circle under subpoena. So I'm curious what he's going to do with this information, what he's going to do with
Who, Zulema is still under subpoena?
I know exactly who I didn't know that was your grandmother. I didn't know that the person that you were referring to was a victim of Dorothea. I know that case. I didn't know that, Crime, Crochet, and Coffee.
Yes, that's the one I shared. The Bailey Syrian did a video like a couple months ago on it, and I shared it for Crime, Crochet, and Coffee.
I must have missed that, babe, when you shared it. Yeah, because I know exactly who Dorothea is. She has been on Deadly Women. But then there used to be a show on We before We became like all reality, like that reality TV stuff that they do now. But before, when they used to, there was another show that we used to do a show, and her story or her crime was featured in that show. Now I can't remember what it was.
Wow. Yep, Dorothy Miller, one of her first victims.
I did not know that, Crime, Crochet, and Coffee. I did not know that.
It was Oxygen's murders at the boarding house, she said.
Yeah. But there was another one that we did on her. I remember. I'll look it up. But anyway, I'm curious as to what Pryor is going to do and what kind of stuff he is going to put on as a defense, because so far he's done the only thing that I can think that he would do for sure is have his own witness get up there and testify about the having reviewed the autopsy from the exhumation of Tammy and contradict the states. And I think he's going to highly and heavily exploit the hair that belongs to Lori that was found on the duct tape used to wrap JJ.
Yeah.
Which is why I kind of think he's not, I think he's, this is, I don't know. I'm tired. I can't even talk anymore, to be honest with you guys. I feel like I'm about to fall out. And it's late.
So you were in the Oxygen one, Crown Crochet, or the We?
Know that.
I wonder if Chad's kids will be testifying with Pryor.
Yeah.
That's what
He's calling them. Yeah,
That's what I mean.
And not, yeah.
Well, I knew he said they were going to testify, but I was just thinking the state wouldn't call them, would they?
I mean, they could if they wanted to. They could, I guess.
Wow.
But I don't. I honestly don't think that it's a good idea for Pryor to put those kids on the stand, because the way that he questions people, I don't think that he is going to be able to elicit the testimony he really wants out of them, which is to say that, you know, our mom was sick. She didn't like the doctor. She frequently hid her illnesses from us. I think that I mean, they can be made to testify, Clicker. They can be subpoenaed and put up on that stand, and and I suppose they can invoke the Fifth Amendment if they wanted to, but I mean, they could be made to testify for the state. But I just think, I don't know. I think that I don't know what story they have to tell yet, but I just feel like the way that Pryor questions people, it's not, I don't think it's going to go over like he thinks it will, but will. I mean, I get that's probably, you know, a last ditch effort. It's all he has to go on and whatnot, but yeah, I don't think it's gonna I don't think it's gonna go the way he thinks it's gonna go.
Right.
So all right, you guys, I think I'm gonna let you go for tonight. I'm tired, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Thank you guys all for being here. I appreciate it. I'll talk to y'all later. Y'all have a good rest of your night. Allie, thanks for
Thank you,
coming up,
guys.
babe.
Thank you, Bindi. And thank
You're
you,
welcome.
chat.
Thank you, guys. I'll see you guys later. Bye.
Bye.